What's up, future millionaires? I'm Mike the Investor, and today we're talking the 2 best cannabis ETFs to use the buy and hold strategy on for the long term. So let's dive right into it. All right, investors, welcome back to the channel. If you would like to earn some free stocks, be sure to check out the Robinhood and the Webull link down below. Now, first things first, I'm going to show you the projected growth rate of the cannabis industry and what it's expected to be in the next 5 to 7 years. So looking here from Globe Newswire, it is saying the projected cannabis market forecast for 2027 is going to be $147.45 billion. Now, that is massive considering where the cannabis industry currently is. Now, this is a projected compound annual growth rate of 29.1% from 2020 to 2027. Now, that is massive, and I'm going to show you why these 2 ETFs I think is the best choice to use the buy and hold strategy on for the long term. So the first ETF we're looking at today is the godfather of all cannabis ETFs in my opinion. You probably heard of it before. Ticker symbol is MJ, also known as Alternative Harvest. Let's briefly look at their website here. So you can see ETF MJ Alternative Harvest. As we scroll down, I already have a few things highlighted for us. If we look at the About section, MJ tracks the Prime Alternative Harvest Index, designed to measure the performance of companies within the cannabis ecosystem benefiting from global, medical, and recreational cannabis legalization initiatives. If you look at the first bullet point, the first U.S. and world largest ETF to target the global cannabis industry. So right there, if we know how big the cannabis industry is supposed to be, why not be invested in the largest cannabis ETF? I'm just saying. Now, the next bullet point, it says the global cannabis market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 23.9% and reach $66.3 billion by 2025. Now, this is just the US global market forecast. This is massive here. So as we scroll down, you see the US map. This is going to give you the full legalization map here. And if we look over to the far right, this is going to give us the fund summary. So the fund inception here was December 3rd of 2015, which pretty much means when the fund started, when we were able to start trading, this fund on the stock market and buy it. Now you have the ticker symbol, of course, is MJ. They have a little bit over $1.5 billion under management, and their expense ratio is 0.75%. They have a rebalance frequency of every single quarter, and then they have 33 holdings currently. So as we scroll down just a little bit more, this is going to give us the fund price, which also gives you the net asset value, which is what NAV stands for, which lets you know, are you paying a premium for this ETF or not, which is very important. As we scroll down a little bit more, this is going to give us the top 10 holdings of Alternative Harvest, ticker symbol MJ. Now, the top holding right now is Aphria. After that, Tilray, Canopy, GrowGen, I think is going to be massive. Aurora Cannabis, which is an old favorite. Cronos, Hexo, Village Farms, and these are just the top 10 holdings. And the last thing I want to show you about the MJ ETF, besides the guaranteed growth that you're going to get from this ETF as long as you hold it long term, is the dividend that this ETF pays out that I think is massive. Now, we are on the Seeking Alpha website here, and their dividend yield is currently 4.94%. Now, they currently pay 98 cents per share every single year, and they have a dividend growth rate of 2 years, which I think is pretty good also. So for every share, you're getting 98 cents on top of the growth that you're getting from this ETF. I think this is a win-win in my opinion, and I definitely think this is a buy and hold that you should have long term. Now, the second ETF we're talking about is You Only Live Once. This is YOLO. This is the up and coming ETF that just started in 2019. So let's briefly look at a few key points on this ETF as well. Now, this ETF is by Advisor Shares, and this is actively managed as well. Ticker symbol, of course, is YOLO, YOLO. We're going to scroll down a little bit. If we look at the brief portion here, the Advisor Shares Pure Cannabis ETF, ticker YOLO, became the first actively managed ETF with a dedicated cannabis investment mandate domicile in the United States, meaning their permanent home is in the United States. Now, the Advisor Shares Pure Cannabis ETF, or YOLO, seeks long-term capital appreciation by investing in both domestic and foreign cannabis equity securities. YOLO is designed to fully invest in pure cannabis exposure. Now, this is a great ETF in my opinion, and I'm going to show you kind of a comparison between them here in a little bit also. So we're going to scroll down here. Of course, the ticker symbol is YOLO. Their inception date was back in April of 2019. So of course, this is a lot newer ETF compared to the MJ ETF Alternative Harvest. Now we scroll down a little bit more, and this ETF has 268 million assets under management, so a lot smaller compared to the MJ ETF, which has over 1.5 billion. But of course, this is also newer. They've only been around a little bit over a year. So let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. This is the performance. It's also going to give you the NAV, which is the net asset value. These will be the holdings of YOLO. You can see their biggest holding here is BlackRock Treasury Trust. So definitely they have some defensive side to this ETF. This is 29% of the ETF. You have derivatives, which is almost 10%. And then we start getting into some of the actual cannabis holdings. You have Village Farms, Curaleaf Holdings. If we go to the fourth page, which is the major cannabis holdings, you have Green Thumb, Innovative Industrial Properties, which I hold in my main portfolio. We have Aphria, GrowGen. So these are the major cannabis holdings here in YOLO. If we scroll down a little bit more, this is going to show you the full region of where they are invested. Of course, most of it is in the United States at 61.5%. You have 28.7% in Canada, United Kingdom at 6.1%, and you have cash for 3.6%. So that's pretty much YOLO in a nutshell. And the last thing I want to show you, of course, they have a 0.75% expense ratio. So they have the same expense ratio as the MJ ETF. So you're not gonna, get a lower expense ratio depending on which one you invest in. And the last thing I want to show you on YOLO is they also pay a dividend just like MJ. It's not as big, but it is still nice to get that dividend on top of the growth. We are on Seeking Alpha again. They currently have a 0.68% dividend yield, so it's not even a 1% yield. So you can see it is extremely almost non-existent. They are paying 15 cents per share annually, and they have 0 years of growth currently on that dividend. Now, I do think over time they probably will raise it a little bit, but I think this ETF is a little bit more focused on growth compared to the MJ ETF, where you're going to get that bigger dividend, but you also are going to see a lot of growth from it because they are completely invested, just pretty much all cannabis companies. Now, I want to show you kind of a comparison on how they've kind of compared since both ETFs have been on the market. They pretty much do track each other for the most part, but you're going to see kind of how they break away in some parts. So right now we're looking at the performance of the MJ ETF, which is the orange, and YOLO, which is red. So of course, YOLO starts here in 2019, and then MJ starts all the way back here, which I also said I do think MJ, with it having this longer track record, it definitely gives them a little bit more stability in the market, just my opinion. But as you can see here, you can see they pretty much for the most part track each other. And when they first started out, of course, MJ was, considerably higher in return. And as YOLO started going and 2020 came along, you can see YOLO started to pick up, and now they're actually past, MJ when it comes to just price return. Now, if we add in dividends, and now if we scroll down here, let me actually take out the S&P 500, and then we're going to put in YOLO. Now this will give us the total return here. Now this will give us the dividends as well, guys. Now you can see the MJ ETF peaks it just a little bit, as you can see at 8.09%, YOLO at 4.80%. And I also think that's because, MJ has a little bit longer track record, but also that dividend does make up, because when the stock market is down, how else do you get money from your assets? Dividends. And that's why I think this is one of the major ETFs to hold in the cannabis industry. So those are the two best cannabis ETFs in my opinion that I think you should use the buy and hold strategy on for the long term. We looked at the projected cannabis industry. We also looked at each ETF and what they were kind of strong in and what they were known for. They're both going to give you both ranges, where YOLO is more of a growth ETF, I think, in my opinion, and the MJ ETF is still going to give you growth, but you're also going to get a lot higher dividend from the MJ ETF. Now, I definitely think you should hold maybe some other players if you want to see even more growth, but I think once you establish your position in these two ETFs, once you have that full diversity in the full cannabis industry, then you can go ahead and start diving into some of those single hand companies. I'm just kind of giving you what I'm personally doing. Once I establish my position in MJ and YOLO, because I am holding both of these, that way I get a full range of this industry, then I can go ahead and pick some of the major players I think are gonna set themselves apart from the competition. But that is all I got for you guys. If I helped you out in any way, be sure to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to get you some free stocks down below by using my links. I'm Mike the Investor. Remember to stay inspired, stay motivated, always invest in yourself, and I'm out.